of all, it was an administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member. And we believe he should stay where he is. The 261 on that first flight are 261 reasons why our country is safer. They are not coming back. They are staying in a prison in El Salvador. Jesse, when you're listening to all these liberal reporters, they keep calling him a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland man. He has no right to be there, but for an extra step in paperwork, just like you said, he would go right back to El Salvador, which is his home country, where he belongs. And President Bukele does not want to give him back to the United States, nor do we want him back.
Right. This is Pam Bondi, a lawyer who once covered for Trump in his first impeachment. And here she is today, glossing over a legal scandal involving a man who was deported to one of the most dangerous prisons in the Western Hemisphere. A man who wasn't even supposed to be deported. But if you think that's the headline, keep watching, because it gets worse. Karoline Leavitt, Trump's new press secretary, is echoing the same terrifying message. Facts no longer matter. Truth is irrelevant. And if ICE says you're a criminal, then you are. No court, no questions asked. The masks are off. The Trump administration is daring the courts, Congress, and the American people to try and stop them.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
In what court was he convicted and for what? The judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi. The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. I believe the Department of Justice just filed another brief in the lower court. I would defer you to that.
From Trump's attack dog Pam Bondi to professional propagandist Karoline Leavitt. The message is clear. Innocence doesn't matter. Legal status, it doesn't matter. You are what ICE says you are. You are whatever the arresting agent feels in that moment. This isn't law and order. It's lawless and authoritarian. You think this kind of overreach only affects undocumented immigrants? Think again. If they can deport someone with legal residency and a wife and 3 U.S.-born children without due process, they can do it to anyone. And they are making it clear they don't care who they hurt along the way.
The Trump administration's acknowledged that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was removed from the U.S. in error on March 15th. But the administration claims they're now powerless to bring him back to his family, even though the Trump administration is paying El Salvador $6 million a year to imprison immigrants expelled from the United States. Abrego Garcia, who's from El Salvador, was granted protected legal status in the U.S. by an immigration court in 2019, prohibiting the federal government from sending him back to El Salvador after he fled gang violence there.
And the posture of the administration has been, yeah, we made a mistake. No, we're not going to do anything whatsoever to fix it. And no court can order us to fix it.
The only evidence against your client consisted, quote, of nothing more than his Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie, and a vague, uncorroborated allegation from a confidential informant claiming he belonged to MS-13's Western Clique, a place he's never lived.
Let's talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father who was snatched up by ICE last month after picking up his 5-year-old son from school. He'd lived here legally for 14 years. His wife and 3 children are U.S. citizens. ICE accused him of being in MS-13, later admitted it was all a mistake. But when his lawyers asked the court to order his return, Trump's Department of Justice said nope. They claimed the court has no jurisdiction to make the administration do anything. And now he's locked inside a mega prison in El Salvador. It's more than a tragic error. This is a policy designed to eliminate due process, punish immigrants, and test how far the executive branch can go without accountability. Trump team is not fixing this mistake because in their minds, it's not a mistake at all. It's a feature, not a bug.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. We've been living through a hoax. Nobody was mistakenly sent to El Salvador. He was ordered deported from this country in 2019. He's an illegal alien. His home nation is El Salvador. That is where he belongs.
And then you've got Stephen Miller, one of the architects of this cruelty, on Fox News here, pretending none of this is real. He claimed that the deportations are only targeting criminals. But here's the truth. Stephen Miller knows exactly what's happening. This is about scaring immigrants, empowering ICE to act like a paramilitary force, funneling people, wrongfully or not, into the prison systems of foreign countries. These people aren't just racists, they're power-drunk authoritarians who want to erode the rights of anyone they don't deem American enough. Miller lies because the truth would destroy the whole justification for these programs, and Trump's loyal media surrogates, they run cover for it like they always do.
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CNN.
Do you plan to ask President
Low-rated.
Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is that?
deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork that needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him,
And
President?
you are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Could you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanting, because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But
Then there's Pam Bondi again, doubling down, falsely claiming that Garcia had no legal status, as if that would somehow justify what's happening to him. Trump and Bukele both jumped on her lie. Not only are they refusing to correct the record, but they're actively endorsing it. You've got Bukele, the president of El Salvador, refusing to return Garcia to his family, calling it an internal matter for the U.S. Then you've got Trump pretending his hands are tied, when this whole thing started under his administration, and he has every power to fix it. They're not interested in justice. They're interested in political theater. And Garcia and his family, well, they're just collateral damage.
With respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13.
I asked Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to be suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
it's only
How can I return him to the United States? Like, could I smuggle him into the United States, or whether of course I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. We're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world to the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? And that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people.
Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago.
How long do we have to answer this question from you? Why don't you just say, Isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
Let me be even clearer. This isn't just about one man being deported by mistake. It's a test case for how far they can go. They want to eliminate the courts, eliminate the media, eliminate dissent. And they're using immigrants, especially from places like El Salvador, as guinea pigs for that experiment. They lie, they cover it up, they repeat the lie louder. And when the facts come out, they deny it all. And if you're waiting on congressional Republicans to intervene, please, they're too busy targeting trans kids and censoring school books to do anything about a man thrown into a prison without trial or hearing. They like it this way. They want it this way. And finally, let's talk about the press. Trump is back to attacking Caitlin Collins and CNN because they dared to ask substantive questions about this case. This is the same playbook from 2016. Muzzle the press, drown the story in lies, and wait for the outrage to die down. But not this time. The administration's silence isn't neutral, it's violent. Their inaction is a statement. They're telling us exactly who they are, and if we don't fight back loudly, relentlessly, unapologetically, they will do this again and again and again. We owe it to Garcia and his family. We owe it to ourselves to speak up, especially when it's inconvenient. This isn't just about immigration, folks. It's about whether America has any justice left at all. Let's talk about it.